Max, did you see the people pissed with Jet for saying Liquid and Echo were better than the top 10 guild players? Huh? Top 1% commenter on competitive WoW. There's really not much difference between players' skill in these top guilds. It's just Race World First guilds have analysts and stuff. You guys have no idea how much better the Race World First players are than even people in a top 10 world guild. Okay, so my opinion on this probably shouldn't hold a lot of weight with you because I'm obviously biased because I'm the guild they're talking about. So you can choose to trust me whether you think I'm a trustworthy person or not, or whether you think I'm lying to you. But this is extremely true. I mean, there are often times where we've been doing this for years. We recruit players like, oh, dude, let's recruit the best player in the world 10th guild or something. And like 9 times out of 10, they sit on your bench for a tier. They're not good enough. And then you demote them. Like, we have literally tested this. From our perspective, we test this theory fucking all the time. The player skill difference is absolutely insane. Now, there are people that we have recruited from top 10 world guilds that are some of our best players, right? But that's extremely rare, right? We barely lose players. We accrue these players over time, and then they're not only sick, but they have experience, which is also a level that is hard to create, right? But I mean, this is extremely true and very misunderstood. But the thing is multiple things can be true. Someone can say they have an extra advantage because they have analysts and stuff, which most people don't even know what analysts do. But that is good. And we have people trading us gear and splits, and we have more gold and we have money. Like, there's all those things are true, but usually people use that information to wash away and say there's not actually a skill difference. It's because of all of these things. And while all of those things do exist and they are annoying barriers to entry, the pure player skill is like, it's miles different, even within the top 10. You should see responses to this post. I mean, like, again, you have to assume that I'm trustworthy when I'm telling you this, but like, a tale as old as time is we're recruiting a top 10 world player's best player and they can't play in the guild even at the end of our bench. That happens all the fucking time. Doesn't that prove this theory in itself? This is tested. We don't, this isn't like something you have to guess about. We test this all the time. This is an incredibly elitist take. I think you could easily get a roster of 30 of the best players from the world and rank 10 to 50 guilds, give them the same resources, time commitment, etc., and they would perform at least as well as Method, if not be competitive with Echo and Liquid. I'm trying to think of a real life analogy of how insane this statement is. It's insane. It's like, I'm trying to think. It's probably going to be something with like real sports. But then that confuses a lot of idiots, because then then it becomes like athletic genes and what you were born with and that kind of stuff. And like, there's no athletic stuff in gaming, right? Even though the skill difference can still be astronomically different, right? So that usually confuses idiots. I'm trying to think of a real life analogy of how fucking crazy this statement is. Someone in YouTube chat says you can't come up with an analogy because it's Dunning-Kruger. It's a fallacy that they don't understand how much better people can be than them. Yeah, and you're not going to change their mind. Right. Yeah. And it's not even better than them. It doesn't mean that people are just better than you at everything. It might mean that you have been working 8 hours a day for the last 5 years and you went to college and you applied yourself to different things. And it turns out you're trying to compare yourself in WoW to someone that during all of that time has been playing the game for 15 hours a day, not for fun. Well, for fun, but with the sole purpose of getting better at it. You have no chance, even if you're just as talented, right? Which I would argue that outside of the work ethic and the time that people put into the game, the people at the top level are also insanely talented naturally, like big brain gamers, right? But you didn't even have a chance because of the time you put in. So it's not even like you're insulting someone's intelligence or their potential or how smart they are, but it's also a real thing, you know? Brian Scalabrine, exactly. Brian Scalabrine probably said this to the best. This is Brian Scalabrine. This was him playing for the Celtics. He was an NBA player. He was actually pretty good, but he just looks like he wouldn't be a good NBA player. That's basically why he's a meme, right? He played pickup with these like dudes that just thought. And there was like this video of him I think it was a video or like maybe it was an interview of him smoking just obviously people who play basketball at like LA Fitness or something, right? And the quote was, "I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me." First of all, quote goes hard as fuck, and it's true. But like, there's a lot of like club basketball players with the same level of Dunning-Kruger that are like, bro, I could totally whoop Brian Scalabrine, you know, or like the worst player on an NBA's bench. You know, they just don't know. The worst at this, bro, have you guys ever watched MMA or any kind of combat sports with a douchebag, it's crazy, bro. They will be like, bro, I could totally whoop that guy's ass. Bro, he didn't go for the arm bar there because they got in like a fight in middle school one time. You know what I mean? Like zero training in MMA, but they're like 100% confident they know how to fight. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that or if you have a friend like that. I have a friend like that. And that's what this reminds me of. I think the big factor is the mindset. It's not easy to go from raiding a few times in the evening to raiding about every waking hour while keeping a good attitude. Some of this also needs experience that you can't gather. 100% fact. But also Relo is a really good player. He could probably play at this level, honestly, if he wanted to. He used to be our weak aura guy for us. But that's a big thing. That's a big reason why someone would want to raid an instant dollars and Fat Shark Yes instead of do this. That's why usually when you recruit those players, they're usually better in their second raid than their first one because you kind of have to figure out how to do that. This take is bizarre. Given how aggressively Race World First guilds replace players who slightly underperform only for those players to go on to raid in a top 10 guild, it seems strange to say that there isn't a clear distinction between the players and the skills in the Race of World First guilds in the top. I'm kind of tilting my head like a dog, but didn't he just... It seems like he understands, he's just looking at it the wrong way. Like, or is he agreeing with me? Arguing the same thing? Oh, yeah, oh, okay, I thought he was arguing against. I thought he was saying, bro, what do you mean they can't play in top 10 guilds? Because these players leave these guilds and then go raid in top 10 guilds. It's like, well, yeah, because we got rid of them. But yeah, I think he's agreeing. Yeah, he's agreeing. Yeah, what usually happens is players get demoted from a guild like Echo or Liquid and go anywhere else and they're their best player or one of their best players, right? And no matter where they raid. He's saying the Redditor's take is insane. Yeah, it is. I can believe in a solved environment, there's not much difference. I think most of the skill expression in WoW is just knowledge and figuring out to do it yourself. Problem solving is a skill most players don't think about. Oh my God. But there's no solved environment. Like, okay, I think when most people see us get to a boss, they see like me talk about positioning and they're obviously hearing about me talking about something on another monitor that they can't see and everyone in the guild's looking at it and they're like, oh, Max is like fucking cooking some shit up right now. Like, first of all, we do most of that together. It's a ongoing conversation. But the individual problem solving that every player does on how to be the best warlock on this boss is a really, really high level of problem solving that's happening constantly the whole time. And that level of skill, individual skill and intuition from the players is exactly why you kill bosses so fast. You know? Like, it's so important. Like, Fired Up, for example, like, no mage is doing any cool shit on Muggsy. Fired Up does this, like, triple blink, fucking, like, 10 GCDs in, like, a second or two to like find a way to cleave those jails, and now every mage is trying to do it and some mages can't and give up, you know? Like, some people, it's possible that if Fired Up or another mage didn't exist, that like no one even kills the boss doing shit like that. Not to glaze Fired Up, but like, you know, like, it's just some people's brains are built diffy. 100% true. I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and agree with everyone that agrees and disagrees. I mean, I just think this is like the most true statement that is often misunderstood ever. And I think that this person is, again, the thing is though, is it's kind of a lesson you can learn from Twitter. This person is never going to change their mind. Probably about anything, by the way, but certainly not about something they're willing to tweet about. So it's like, what are we even doing here? There's really no merit for those at the top. It's just privilege and having a head start in life. Yeah. I mean, you could say, bro, 100%, some people in our guild, like high-rolled, if they grew up in a different situation where they didn't have access to a computer at the same time or didn't have the ability to just stay home and play games for a couple years, would they be in a different spot in WoW? Potentially. Like, that shit absolutely matters. In fact, you could argue almost definitely. These people just can't comprehend that the difference between the 0.01% and the 0.1% is the same skill difference as 10% in one. It's just really hard to understand without experiencing it. Yeah, I mean, another example I give sometimes is, let's say you're doing a 60 pull boss. Not a super hard boss, but like a pretty hard boss. And you were to play with, I don't want to glaze Fired Up again, so I'm just going to pick someone else. Like Impec on Enhancement Shaman, right? So 60 pulls into a boss. Impec and the best Enhancement Shaman or Enhancement Shaman player in the world top 15 guild, 13, 12 guild, 5 guild, on pull 60 might be really close to each other, with Impact probably being a little better. And you might think that like, oh, that guy could like play in Liquid, but like how, and that's kind of how success is measured sometime. What was your parse on the kill? How much damage did you do on the kill? But like, when you kill a boss matters. We're trying to kill bosses really fast. So it doesn't matter about how good you are on pull 60. What we're measuring is how good you are on pull 1. How many things can you figure out by pull 5? right? And the reality is, if you see the difference in this and why you need to see progression to actually tell the difference between two different players, is what I just mentioned about pull 60 is also true in farm. When you see someone like Impec and someone in a top 15 guild in farm, they probably look pretty similar, right? But when you see the first like 10, 15 pulls on a really hard boss, the difference between Impec and that player, if you were in the raid with them, would be so fucking astronomical. They would be completely uncomparable, right? And that is what you're trying to get players like that to be able to kill bosses fast, right? And that's probably why a lot of this stuff is hard to understand, because unless you're in that situation, you haven't seen that, you just don't know. Max, how do you find those players? Trial and failure and basically recruiting the best player from the top 5 to 10 guilds as often as you possibly can to see if they're good enough, get rid of the ones that aren't and keep the ones that are. Which is why I have a very educated opinion on this question, because I constantly test this theory for the past 6 years. Because we do this. I was thinking about this, if there's a podcast about this, but could you put Max on a top 20, 10, 25 guild and make them instantly competitive for world first? Like as a raid leader? No shot. Like no fucking way. No way. No. I'm glad that question was asked just so I can answer it. It would blow your mind. Like I'm really good at what I do, right? I can figure out bosses really fast. I love doing it. It's what I'm best at. I love that I'm in a situation where I have to do that, and I delegate a lot of the stuff I hate doing. Really lucky. Bro, if I didn't have the players I have, I would have no fucking chance. No chance. No way. We would get smoked. Like, not even bro, we would make Method look like... We would make the Chinese guilds look like Echo and Liquid combined. Like, it would... Jesus. Like, so different.